Hey guys, it's Bella's Farm Life, and today we're going to be talking about buying horses, both sight unseen, a horse that's local to you and you can test out, and we're going to talk about buying prospects, Western horses, and English horses. So first we're going to talk about buying a horse that you can test and that's local to you. So first you're going to want to go probably about 2 to 3 times to see this horse. Rule number 1 I like to follow is that I like to go and get the horse from the field myself. Some people have the horse caught and tacked up and all ready before you even get there, and some already have it in a stall. You want to see if this horse is catchable for you, if they get buddy sour when you first pull them away from their herd, or if they're out alone, if they get upset they're being pulled away from their food or whatever's out there, which is obviously common habits, but you're going to want to make sure you can deal with that specific horse's habit. Some horses have it more extreme than others. You're going to want to tack this horse up by yourself, pick its feet yourself, and groom it yourself. Now, these are the reasons why. A horse could be girth sour, and by tacking that horse up yourself, you will see that behavior, and that behavior will come out with you. 2, picking up the feet and picking the feet. Some horses like to pull away, some horses don't pick up their feet easily, having a heavy foot, and some horses pick them up perfectly fine. You're going to want to know what you're working with and how well they do what they do, especially if you're going to be spending quite a bit of money on this horse. You're going to want to make sure it's almost exactly what you want. Grooming the horse will show you how well they stand on the cross ties, so don't rush through it. Take your time. You're going to want to see if they're antsy on the cross ties after a while. Some horses paw on the cross ties. Some like to pull back on the cross ties. You're going to want to see that behavior. If you're testing a horse out in the summer, go give that horse a bath. See how it is with the bath. Is it good with the water? Is it good standing there for long periods of time? Things like that. Because yes, they might be okay for grooming, but bathing is a whole nother thing when you're putting water on them and shampoo and conditioners. Some horses don't like it. You also might want to talk to their vet and farrier, see if this horse has any bad history, if it's good for the farrier. Farriers will tell you a lot, and they know a lot about the horse from working with them just by doing their feet. Is this horse shoed on all 4 or just 2 feet? And if so, why? Do they have sensitive hooves? Do they just have them shoed for performance reasons? Why is the horse shoed? If the horse is barefoot, ask, are they good on harder ground? Like, will they stay sound even without shoes? Is this horse on any supplements? Does it need any maintenance? If that's something you're willing to take on, that's perfectly fine, but you're going to want to know. I'd also recommend riding the horse every time you go. So you're also going to want to ride the horse, but have the trainer get on the horse as well, so you can see and exhibit its behavior from the ground with somebody else riding it. You can see a lot from the ground on how they act, how their facial expressions are, all of that. If you're looking for a kid's horse or something, or like a really high-end prospect and they have a ton of vices or they only have a few vices, look at the price and take a second, check the price, check their vices, and see if that price is what that horse is worth. I'm not saying everybody's going to scam you or everybody's bad, but you're going to want to make sure you're not spending $10,000 on a horse that likes to buck or likes to kick, or even something simple as cribbing, because these are all behaviors you're going to have to deal with at your barn. And if you own your barn, those are things you have to fix. And if it's at somebody else's barn, you have to remember this horse is going to be cribbing on somebody else's stalls. This horse could kick somebody else. Whatever the behavior is, you have to make sure that it's going to match that price. I prefer buying from maybe a small family that maybe can't afford their horse, or maybe just can't give the attention that it needs and wants, rather than buying it from some big sale barn, because they really don't care if horses come, go, whatever. They have tons of clients that they can get to buy horses. Also, be wary of people drugging their horses. It's not going to be totally uncommon that people do that. Is it horrible? Absolutely, but people do it. So make sure you look for any signs of drugging. Maybe if the horse is a little too calm, head slung, lip hanging down, things like that, those are kind of signs of drugging. Not all the time, but you have to make sure that you know that there are people out there that do that. And just because you're looking at a horse and the person seems honest doesn't mean they are. In the horse industry, take everything people say as a grain of salt. You never know what's true and what's not. Even if it is a small family selling their horse and they just really want to get it off their plate, I'm telling you right now that people don't really care. And once the horse is off their hands, it's whatever, and it doesn't matter to them anymore. I recommend bringing somebody with you that knows horses very well, maybe your trainer or somebody that's close to you that has a horse or has bought a horse or leases a horse or is some sort of horse person. I just bring them with you, 1 or 2 people if you can, so they can also look and maybe see things that you might not see. Again, maybe try to go at feeding time. See if this horse is aggressive with its feed. Does it paw? Does it kick at the stall before it gets its food? Some of these are normal behaviors and that's fine, but again, make sure it's something that you can deal with. I would have a vet do a PPE before you buy it, which is a pre-purchase exam. I do think they can be beneficial. They can get pricey, but you're going to want to know if this horse has anything, because it can be even pricier if you buy this horse and it comes up with navicular or something that is low grade now, but it might be terrible in a few years. You want to make sure if you're looking for your forever horse that you really take into consideration that it could have problems, and you're going to want to know about them beforehand. Another thing is some people let their horses go out on a 30-day policy where you can bring the horse back or exchange it or whatever. If it's a big barn, exchange it, but some individual people let you take it home. If they're really confident in their horse, they might let you take it home. It's not very common that people do that, but maybe just ask, because it's always worth a try. Now remember, this horse is going to need some settling in time at your farm, but first impressions are everything. If you get this horse off the trailer and it is absolutely insane, you have to think, okay, what if I want to bring this horse to a show, or I want to go somewhere with this horse? This is what is going to come out of this horse, because it's going to be in another unfamiliar environment. If you're looking at purchasing a young horse, I'd say probably 16 years or younger, and they have things like arthritis or a low-grade navicular or whatever they say, just make sure you take into consideration that later on in this horse's life, it's going to get worse and worse. And if they're fairly young to kind of not middle-aged, but in that 16-year mark, you have to think that eventually when they're in their 20s and things like that, that this is going to get worse. See if this horse is spooky. Do they spook at anything? Are they good on the trails? Are they dominant in a field? Are they lower on the totem pole? Can they go out with other horses? Are they good outside and inside? Some horses do not make it for outside board. People board their horses outside sometimes, and some horses aren't cut out for it. Their feet turn terrible, they lose weight, things like that. Not every horse is cut out for outdoor living. So make sure if that's what you plan on doing, that your horse is hardy enough to be able to live outside. Another thing is in the stall, make sure they have very good barn etiquette and they're safe in a stall for a barn owner to go in and feed that horse. Make sure they're safe in case something gets in the stall with them or whatever it may be. You have to make sure that that horse is safe, because again, you're putting other people's lives at risk if you buy something or get something that is very, very dangerous. If you think there are vices that you can fix, again, remember the price. The price of the horse, let's say it's $7,000 and it has all these vices of maybe it's a little spooky and things like that, and you think it's something you can fix, I would try to wiggle the price down a little bit, to be quite honest, because it's work you're gonna have to put into that horse that they didn't. So you have to just think in your head, all right, so this horse cribs and this, that, and the other thing, I'm gonna have to buy maybe a cribbing collar, or I'm gonna have to buy something to spray on the stall, or I'm gonna have to teach this horse not to crib because I don't want my horse to crib. You have to think that in your mind, that that's something you're going to have to fix, and that's going to be your time and money being put into that horse. So your $7,000 horse becomes an $8,000 horse in trying to fix a bad habit. When you're buying a horse, also remember that buying the horse is the cheapest thing you will do. It doesn't matter if you spend $50,000 on a horse, $100,000 on a horse, or $500 on a horse. You are going to be putting in way more money than what you paid for a horse. They're a lot of money, time, and they're very, very expensive animals. From tack, grain, supplements, board, all of that, it all costs money and it all adds up every single month. Vet bills, farrier bills, all of that is all something that's going to add up. So you have to think in your mind, is this something that I can do? If you are going to buy a horse, I do prefer giving horses forever homes. So if you do plan to resell the horse as a project, you should probably mention that to the owner and tell them that that's your plan with the horse. Some people aren't okay with their horses being passed around, and that's just not who they would want to sell the horse to. Now we're going to move into part 2 of buying a horse sight unseen. So if you're buying a horse very far from where you are and it's a horse that you can't go check out or test out, maybe it's even 5 hours away and you're just going to drive to pick it up, but you don't have the time to test it out, this is what you need to do. Find somebody that may be reliable, whether it's a higher end sale barn or it is just an individual family. Find somebody that seems trustworthy. Again, it is a lot easier to lie when you are not physically there to see this horse, look at this horse, and know what it's all about. Not only text this person and get pictures, videos, of literally everything, you're also going to want to talk to this person physically on the phone first. You want to make sure that you ask all the questions and that they're answering them honestly, or they sound like they're answering them honestly, that they're not stuttering over words or not fully answering your question. You're going to want to make sure that you talk to them on the phone, not just once, but multiple times. Before you even text them about the horse, just say, hey, can I give you a call? It's a lot easier to say things over text and make up some sort of story. You're going to want videos of the horse walking, trotting or jogging, whatever you call it, and loping or cantering, whatever you call it again. You're also going to want videos of the horse being tacked up, of all its feet being picked up, the behavior in the stall. You want a video of them catching a horse. Now, I know this seems like a lot to ask from a person, but at the same token, you're buying a horse and paying for shipping possibly, and the actual horse, and you're taking a chance on buying it sight unseen. So getting these videos are absolutely necessary. I would highly, highly, highly recommend talking to their vet and farrier on the phone yourself, where the owner's not just giving you information, oh, well, the vet said, or oh, well, the farrier said. You don't want that. You want to talk to the vet and farrier on the phone yourself, possibly even talking to some people that might know the horse. Ask them the same questions you would if you were seeing a horse in person. Does it crib? Does it kick? Does it bite? Does it rear? Has it ever offered to buck? Has it ever cribbed? What are the vices? What are the bad habits? Does it stand on the cross ties? Can you give it a bath? Things like that. You're gonna want to see that. If the horse can take a bath, hey, can I get a video of you giving the horse a bath? If it's summer, obviously. If they're advertising it as a kid's horse, hey, do you think you can show me a video of the kids riding the horse? So that's what goes into seeing and buying a horse sight unseen over the phone. So you're only seeing anything over the phone. You're only hearing things over the phone. You're not able to talk to a person in person. So that's going to be very hard. And the steps to buying a horse sight unseen are pretty limited, because really it's just about being smart and kind of just listening to your gut and making sure you don't buy anything that's going to be horrifically bad when it gets off the trailer. I have a lot of horses I bought sight unseen, 2 of which were very bad. One, moderately bad. He's supposed to be very, very young, and he's actually a lot older than what he is. We talked to the vet and everything, and he had told us the horse was a lot older than they were advertising. We went back to the owner, and the owner said, no, he's this old. Then we went back to the vet, and the vet said, no, he's old. And now my dad knew the horse was a lot older than what she was saying, but we ended up taking him anyway because he was just a very loving, cute, adorable horse who really just needed a loving home. So we took him in. But that is something that if somebody was looking for an actual young horse and wasn't able to tell what to look for in an older horse, you're going to end up with heartbreak because it's going to be a lot older than you thought. Second case was I got pictures of a beautiful horse from Canada. I'm in the US. I was going to ship her over the border and everything, and I ended up buying her. When she came off the trailer, she was skin and bones. It was absolutely horrible. Mangy coat. Her mane was just wrecked, and she had no light in her eyes at all. No nutrition. It was horrible to see. I'm so happy I ended up with her. She is healthy now. She is growing great. She was only a yearling when I bought her, unfortunately, and it was a total neglect case. Honestly, I'm so thankful that I found her, and I do believe I found her for a reason. But it's just a fair warning that does happen. But we were expecting her to be a little bit skinny, because when we did talk to the vet, he did say that she wasn't in the best of shape, and that is one of the reasons I really wanted her over one of the other prospects that I was looking at. A little change in setting, but pretty much that is what happens when you buy a sight unseen horse. So some of the time it doesn't go as planned, unfortunately. Now I'm going to talk about buying prospects. If you're buying a very young prospect, which normally a prospect's going to be pretty young, you're going to want to look at conformation. Are they clean in their legs? Are their legs placed nicely, as long as they're not pigeon-toed or toed out or over at the knee, because these are all things that are going to affect them again later in life. Buying a prospect is fairly simple. You have to look at disposition and personality. Are they nice? Do they bite? Do they kick? Are they kind of a little bit witchy? Whatever it might be, you're going to want to look at that, because again, this is all going to filter into as they get older, and normally personality is just something that sticks. You can't change something's personality. Is the prospect easy to work with? Depending on what you want. You might want a hotter, headed horse for something that is going to be a professional discipline or something that's going to be a lot of showing and things like that. You don't want some lazy horse that doesn't want to do anything for a show jumper or even a reining horse, because you're not going to get anywhere with that. So that's pretty much what you look for in prospects: conformation, personality, the disposition of them, and those are just the basics of buying a prospect. I'm going to tell you what I look for in a Western prospect now. So in Western prospects, you kind of want them to have a lower head, things like that. Probably a nice body build, maybe a little bit more on the muscle than for the reining and Western disciplines. Now, if I'm looking at a jumper prospect, I'm probably going to look at a little bit of a longer legged horse, something that has a little bit of a rear end on it so it can really get up and go over a jump. Or for a dressage horse, something that might be tall and very built, that will hold up to all those extreme sports and disciplines. When you're buying an already trained Western horse, you're going to want to look for things such as, like I said, the low head. Are they able to neck rein? Do they have auto lead changes? I know a lot of Western sports do involve lead changing as well as English, but for now we're talking about the Western. Specifically my reining horse that I have, you want that low head. Every nice reining horse has a very low set head. They either come straight out from their body or lower, and it's very, very pretty. You want to be able to speed up their trot a little bit, slow it down a little bit. You want to speed up their lope a little bit, slow their lope down a little bit, and make sure that they're touchy with their cues, because that's always a very good thing to have when they're touchy and you can really just hit one certain spot and they know exactly what you're asking for. You're going to want to make sure they're trying their hardest and they're doing all their maneuvers to the best of their ability, no matter what it is. If they're kind of like not finishing a spin or not lead changing every time, you have to think about these are things that could end up happening to you in the show ring. And for any type of English prospect, you obviously don't want a terribly low head. I'd say if I'm looking for a hunter jumper, I'd look for a pretty level head, not really low, but pretty level. I'd say for show jumping, maybe a little bit of a higher head, maybe a little bit of a crazier eye. Just saying, if you want them to really get up and go over a jump, you might need that, especially if you're going to be jumping in high levels, as well as the fact that they, again, lead change, pick up the right lead after a jump, and that they aren't too pushy, but enough where when you really ask them to go, they go, and when you really need them to slow up or suck back, they can also do that. Horses that are pushy and just plow through you, you're going to probably end up crashing through some jumps or whatever it is. For a dressage horse, I'd probably look for something a little bit spunky, but I would look for something a little bit more on the mellow side, so like right in the middle of that. So they know all their maneuvers and they have the energy to do a dressage pattern, but at the same token, they are mellow and not rearing up or taking off on you in the middle of a dressage ring, because that's not what's supposed to happen. It looks normal in maybe show jumping or cross country, but not particularly dressage. So that concludes my video on what I look for in horses, how to buy a horse, all of that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you a little bit. And I hope my stories with my horses kind of lead you in the direction of possibly buying a horse that you can test out. Because as you can see, it doesn't happen often that you find an amazing sight unseen horse. So just make sure you keep an open mind and that you're smart about it. And I hope this video helps you.